Good evening, viewers, and welcome to this edition of a chat with the Diocesan Bishop of the Diocese of Lagos Mainland Anglican Communion, the Right Reverend B.C. Akinpelu Johnson. The diocese this year celebrates 15 years of its inauguration, and with me to have this chat with the diocesan, to my immediate left is the Diocesan Registrar, Lady Chikwe Ochiaga. And then to the extreme left is the Dean of the Cathedral of St. Jude Butemeta, the Venerable Fi Ojalabi. And with us, of course, to tell us about the diocese, 15 years and counting, is the diocesan, the Right Reverend B.C. Akinpelu Johnson. You're welcome to this program, sir.
Thank you.
I guess it's a chat, and then I'd like the registrar to kick off 2006. Anything you want to ask the bishop about up until now?
Yes. Thank you, my Lord Bishop, for allowing this platform. Since 2006, the Diocese of Lagos Mainland has been in existence. Where are we coming from? And where are we now?
Well, thank you very much for having me and for this opportunity for us to be able to have this chat as we mark the 15th anniversary of the diocese, which was inaugurated on August 23rd in 2006. Where you are coming from, something tells me that you're in a better position to answer that question. Because in the Diocese of Lagos, you were one of the legal officers. And this diocese, of course, was created out of the Diocese of Lagos. And with then the Right Reverend Professor Adebayo Akinde as the pioneer bishop of the diocese. And I do remember that day because by God's grace, a lot of us were here. And then, of course, a member of I was a priest in the Diocese of Lagos. So as far as that question is concerned, well, the diocese was carved out of the Diocese of Lagos, and by God's grace, with your continued support and the support of the members of the Diocese of Lagos Mainland, you are here 15 years, and sincerely speaking, when we look back, we can see that you've had many achievements to celebrate, not only within the diocese itself, but also the impact that you have made outside of the diocese within the general Anglican, the province of the Church of Nigeria, the Anglican Communion. So we want to thank God for the journey thus far. And I suppose perhaps the words or the name Ebenezer would be appropriate at this time, either to as the Lord helped us. And we hope that the next 15 years of the diocese will also be filled with monumental achievements, which even, for instance, the building in which we sit is one of the achievements of the last administration. The Bishop's Court in which the Bishop lives is also one of the achievements, and many other things that we can point at. The development of churches and people. So that's where we are at the moment. After Babakinde left 5 years ago. So the 15th anniversary, of course, also marks perhaps also my own 5th year as diocesan of as the bishop of the diocese. So it's also an important occasion for me to sit back and take stock of what has transpired in the 5 years that I have been here.
Right. Now, in these last 5 years, it would be nice if you can just pinpoint one or two things you've been able to put in place as the second bishop of the Diocese of Lagos Mainland.
Well, it'll be difficult to say too much because, first of all, I do remember my sermon on the day of my enthronement. But Baba Akinde left very big shoes that one had to fill But I also said that actually, when you say your predecessor has left big shoes and it will be difficult to fill them, I do remember saying that when we were young and shoes were bought for us and they were too big, we used to use toilet roll or cotton wool to pack them. So I use that analogy to say that the people of Lagos mainland will help me fill the shoes so that my feet will be able to enter. And so perhaps first of all, let me say that I'm grateful to God for the warmth of the reception that I was accorded on my coming in, and to thank God that in spite of the Bible saying that in the latter days love will go cold, the love that you have held out to us, myself and my family, it continues to wax strong and it hasn't grown cold. And I suppose the sticks that's in the fire, I always check the fire to make sure that the sticks are still there and the fire doesn't go out. So I still feel the warmth of the reception and the tremendous support that various parishes have given. And of course, things in the country economically have been very challenging. And together, we continue to forge a way forward to make sure that we can overcome the economic challenges and be able to do what we have to do. Having said that, being able to refer to specific instances, we are grateful to God that even last year and again this year, we've been able to, shall we say, settle parishes down. In the sense that many parishes, the beautiful thing is that you have the register of the diocese. You are aware that many churches or parishes had land on which they were worshipping or they had built, and we have been able to pay off a lot of these lands that those parishes now own the properties in which they worship. Sometimes I describe this diocese to other people outside. I say that really the diocese is a rural diocese, but they all laugh because, of course, they think about St. Jude's, they think about Dlam, they think about All Saint Yaba. They don't see the other little parishes out there. And you look at the churchman's calendar, and you mentioned in this archdeaconry, this church. Yes, they are there, but a lot of them are small parishes that are struggling, and trying to make sure that every parish, for instance, is settled as far as ownership of land and building of structures in place. It's not easy, it hasn't been easy, but we thank God that even last year during the pandemic, for instance, the Church of Redemption in Aguda, we have been able to pay off the land and the church is finally settled. Recently, St. Peter's, Urile, has also been relocated, because the moment I saw the church building or the building in which they worship, I knew that the church couldn't be sustained in that environment. And we're grateful to God that we have been able to relocate that church to a more conducive environment where the church can now thrive. We've just finished paying off for that. So in fact, what we have done is to try and concentrate on making sure that parishes have their land and they're able to start thinking about building a place to worship. Beyond that, I would say that beyond structures, because really when I look at what Baba Kinde and your good selves have done as far as infrastructure is concerned, I'm grateful to God, because there really is no need to even go into any infrastructural development per se, as far as the diocesan level is concerned. What we have here in the diocesan headquarters, then the Bishop's Court in 10 years, then the event center, the Bishop Akinde Event Center in Bariga. And that's a massive undertaking. And we thank God that on July 29th, during the Women's Conference, it was finally dedicated. Work still continues on the third floor. And when that is able to be completed, I must, of course, put on record my deepest and sincerest appreciation to the women of the diocese, led by the president of the Women's and Girls Organization. Because when we came, the first thing I did was hand that building over to them to continue it, so that they raise the money, they run the place, they look for the funds, and they complete it. That has been taken off our own plate. Similarly to the school, Canon James Pierce, we had a change of administration of the board of governors, and I believe you're not on the board of governors, okay. Now the school is now being run a bit more efficiently, and I thank God for the successes that are being recorded. You know where the school is, in the compound of the premises of St. Francis Ewaya, and the school has been transformed, and the premises of the church, from the gate to the gate of the school, completely the interlocking block has been done. So we're grateful to Mrs. Funke Fowler Amber and her team in being able to put things right there. But looking back now, I think it's not so much of starting any new project, so to speak, but rather to develop the manpower. And therefore, my focus has been and will continue to be in the training of the clergy, because I sincerely believe that the church is only as good as the manpower that will run it, that will look after it. And so I have tried to inculcate in the clergy the need for us to improve standards in everything we do, in the conduct of worship, in our comportment, in the way we dress, and the way we present ourselves to the congregation. And just before the synod, when I spoke to a retired archbishop who visited for a service in the cathedral, and I invited him to the bishop's court. Actually, the dean brought him to the bishop's court. And one of the things he said to me after that service that he was in, he said, Bishop Johnson, things have changed. And I asked him, what do you mean? He said, that service and those coming from the music, the way the clergy carry themselves in service, you have brought Marina to this place. I said, well, I'm happy to hear that. And indeed, by the time we lined up for the opening of synod service in May, and I saw the clergy in their white castles and surplices and everything, I felt, yes, maybe they are beginning to understand what we can offer the Church of Nigeria. Because we are not so much economically empowered, I sincerely believe, and my own thrust will be, that we will offer to the Church of Nigeria examples of standards in worship, high standards of worship, in comportment, in the way the clergy will carry themselves. The clergy too are being encouraged to continue with their educational pursuits. And beyond that, a few weeks ago, we had about 20 of them participate in manpower development. We got somebody who lectures in the Lagos Bible Business School, and she had a go at 20 of them, and we are setting in place the opportunity for another 20 who would have the same thing that companies will send their people to do that. We are hoping to, of course, through our interaction, that spiritually, our clergy also will be able to meet their responsibilities at the parish levels, to be able to carry impact positively on the congregation. So when we have the opportunity to meet at our retreats, we stimulate ourselves theologically, spiritually, to be able to be relevant to the needs of our people. I've encouraged clergymen, especially one of them, to write. He has a gift for writing. And I keep trying to encourage him to put things down in writing that might later on become tools for our pastoral um, for pastoral ministration to the people. What does our church say about divorce, for instance? What does our church say about um, fertility or infertility of couples? How do we address it? These are the issues that I think that when you speak one-on-one with some parishioners, and one of the questions that a very young priest asked me when I first came was about a mother asking his opinion about what kind of fertility treatment that her daughter should undertake somewhere in the US or in the UK. And I asked him what his response was. He says, "My Lord, I didn't even understand what she was saying." So I felt that it is important that for our clergy to be relevant to the people, there are more issues pastorally that perhaps our members are not yet confident enough to bring to us. And if this priest could sit down, write all these things, put these things down, and then we discuss them and we challenge ourselves theologically, pastorally, then we will be better able to address issues that some of our members are going through, and they don't have to leave the church to go out and see anybody else. Well, I hope. So, mine is, let us consolidate what we already have and let us build upon it. And then the training of the clergy is very, very important. And I hope that with that, some of our clergy have gone to courses, 2 have gone to America for courses and have come back. And as many more as can go wherever they need to go, I will most certainly encourage it.
Thank you, my Lord, for that beautiful, very beautiful, well articulated analysis of what we have been doing. I remember that last year you came up with a very wonderful theme for your synod, Amos, Cry for Justice. Is there anything you have done as a follow-up on that theme?
Well, the cry for social justice, Amos, the cry for social justice, is very important because, again, I believe that Nigerian Christians, sometimes we are too self-centered. We focus so much on our own quest for eternal salvation, which is important. But the Bible says that we cannot be so concerned about going to heaven without being concerned about those who are less fortunate to ourselves. And that formed the basis of why I felt we needed to do something on social justice. And as to your question, what have we done as a follow-up apart from the theoretical synod? We're grateful to God that, first of all, the synod, the theme was so stimulating that the clergy decided that during the Lenten services that we have, Wednesday Lenten services, a Bible study would be developed from the theme of the synod, and that Bible study was used during Lent. And where in various churches, the theme of the synod was broken down to little bits so that our people could have, those who were not at synod, of course, could participate, and it would stimulate us to action. This year, by God's grace, as a result of that, and by divine providence, we are about to venture into an education for children with special needs. And we're able to do this because the family of the late Very Reverend T.A.J. Oluwole and Mrs. T.A.J. Oluwole graciously allowed the diocese to use their parents' home to start the school, which we hope we will start in September. That's next month on the 20th. And the place is called, the school is called the Place of Liberty. And the name is taken from the book of Isaiah chapter 61, which was the passage that Jesus read when he went to the temple in Nazareth. The Spirit of the Lord is upon me. He has to preach liberty and all that kind of thing. So that was where we got the name from, the Place of Liberty. And we hope that this will be our own contribution to the theme of the social justice, that by having a school for children with special needs, I think the focus would be for those with Down syndrome and cerebral palsy. The school, the place is ready. If you go to Alaji Masha, it's there where their house is. The family has organized for it to be renovated. It's renovated. Yesterday I was there. I had a meeting with a member of the board, a proposed member of the board, and we were there for about 3 hours. And we sat on the chairs that have been donated. Chairs and tables are already there. Um, every room is air conditioned. So we're ready to go with the school. And we're hoping that by the time we start in September, they will have the provision of a bus or two to be able to take children in and out. So that is what we can say has been the fallout of that synod of last year. The school is going to be free. There's going to be, yesterday too, I saw the room being prepared for physiotherapy for the children, those who need physiotherapy. It's there, it's being done. There's going to be a music school, a music room upstairs. So a lot of things are being prepared for the place. And we are grateful to the family of the late Baba and Mama Oluwole, because behind the scenes, they are really partnering with us to make sure that things are being put in place. So that's as much as I can say. Later on, early next month, we will have the first, the inaugural meeting of the Board of Governors of the school to decide what we want to do. And then by the 20th, the school will start.
Thank you very much, my lord. Way back when you were a young boy, you were in the choir of the Cathedral Church of Christ, Marina, Lagos, and you have this passion for music. And sometime in 2019, you set up the Dr. T.K. Phillips School of Church Music. 2 years down the line, what has it been like?
Well, yes, music is a passion for me. But unfortunately, as I keep telling people, I don't play an instrument. Well, at school, I used to play the flute and the mouth organ, and that's what the harmonica and stuff. We used to call it mouth organ, the harmonica. And 2 years ago, I think it was on the 10th of July, the dean graciously helped us to inaugurate the School of Music because I was away, which marked the 50th anniversary of the death of T.K. Phillips. And T.K. Phillips is considered to be the father of Nigerian choral music. And the inspiration for it was because one of our parishes, St. Paul's Church, Idioro, actually sits on part of the land that belonged to the family, TK, belonged to him. So his house, actually, the foundation of his house is still there. It was, I think, early this year that I discovered one of my clergymen said, "Oh, when I was vicar here, I pulled the house down." He thought he was saying something very nice to me, and I exploded. That you did what? You were the one that destroyed the house, because Europeans will never do something like that. They would restore it. And I told him, if we had restored that property, people will come there and make pilgrimage in that place, and we'll be able to raise money for the school. But talking about that, the school has developed. We use the younger clergy as pioneer students. Some people will say guinea pigs, but pioneer students for the school. The clergy were a little bit resistant to it, but slowly and surely they would let. I always tell them that in those days, you could never be a clergyman without studying music. If you went to St. Andrew's College, or you had to study music. So it was part and parcel of it. It's developed, the school is doing well, and now there seems to be a lot of interest, especially among the young ones, to learn violin and all that. And Reverend Adeli has been very helpful with teaching some of these young children. The other day on Saturday, Mr. Adejare, the organist of Bishop Adelakun Howell's church, was there in the music school. So we have 2 rooms. We have 2 brand new pianos in the music school, which the cathedral graciously allowed us to develop from the crypt in the crypt of the cathedral. And then we have another room where we are setting up. We've just connected that room to the internet. We're going to have a music laboratory for 20 students with computers so that they can be taught from abroad. We have somebody who has already paid for some musicians to learn composition. So that will be done from somebody in the UK teaching our people. We have inaugurated a board of governors, a board for the foundation for music. Um, and at the moment, I'm still actively on it. We have the head of school is actually Dr. Ayo Olunoti, who is based in America, but we're expecting him back in Lagos by the end of the month. He will be here. And Saimeka Omukedi is also part of us. The beautiful thing about the Diocese of Lagos Mainland is that it has a deposit of many talented musicians. And when I look at, for instance, Lagos City Chorale, for instance, a lot of the members of our different choirs are part of that city chorale. You talk about the Muson choir, a lot of our members too are part of it. So I think what we want to do is through the Music Foundation to harness all these talents, and it will assist to put this diocese on the world's map. And I think as a church, music is our heritage. Choral music is our heritage, is our tradition, and I'm very passionate that we don't lose it. Some churches no longer sing psalms, no longer chant canticles, even here. So we have to get the vicars to appreciate the tradition, we have to get the priests to appreciate the tradition, and for them to encourage the musicians. And who knows, there might be a Bach or Handel or Beethoven amongst our youth. We never know, unless we give them that opportunity. So I'm grateful to God during the week, during the holiday, when Reverend Adeli is there teaching all these children, you hear them stringing their violins and all that. It's hope that the future is going to be good for the diocese.
My Lord, in the course of this chat, you talked about restoration and pilgrimage. And one can say that you like to bring things from, where they were and then transform them. Talking about St. Jude's Church, which is also about the same age with the Cathedral Church of Christ Marina. We see a transformation, we see a restoration of that whole structure. What was the motivating factor behind it?
The dean. Well, again, there, when you go to York Cathedral, for instance. Oh no, sorry. Yes, I think it's York. It's York. And you stand in front of the cathedral doors, and they tell you that that door is 900 years old. What can you point at in Nigeria that has that kind of heritage? When I visited the dean of the cathedral in York, is it York? That's New York, I think. And when I was provost of the cathedral, we used to send clergy to go there for 2 weeks. The cathedral would send clergy and his wife, a clergyman and the wife, go to York, go to St. Paul's Cathedral, just go and see, And I went to see, I remember the dean now, he's written some books that I read, that I bought. And I went to visit him. And I went to his house, his residence. And as I entered, the smell of centuries just hit me. And we entered into his study. I said, this is beautiful. Old timber. I said, this is beautiful. How old is this place? He says, it goes back to the 13th century. And I was we are so far behind. And so when we have the opportunity of restoring a place, instead of pulling it down, then why don't we do it? So that the future generation can come and appreciate it. In this old building, this church building, Yeah, the pipe organ that is there is all we've restored it to how far we can get it until professional organ builders come and build. But that organ goes back to 1956. 1956, a pipe organ. So when you try and tell churches now, it's like they're expensive, that why do you think of a pipe organ? They can't do. But the pipe organ, if it is properly maintained, will last. And by the time in its lifetime, it would have used about 4, 5, 6 digital organs, and it would have lasted all of them. So I think the motivation was first of all to preserve something for the future, and the mere fact that I'd worshipped in the church as well. And when the dean took over as dean here, I do remember one year that I came here. I was telling him, I said, Dean, you guys have to do something about this building. You have to do something about this building. But of course, that time and I'm happy that they didn't look at it, because that was when they had just finished this place. Because that was when Kumi was. So they had just finished this place. I don't think they had embarked on the Bishop's Court. So it's good that everything you guys wanted to build, you built it before 2016. Because the economy between 2016 and I can't imagine myself trying to raise money to do all those things. So but this one, it had enough of history for members of St. Jude's to want to participate in its restoration. And so ours was just to, shall we say, kickstart it once they caught the vision that this place can be restored. And when the late Chief Dlam decided to buy a tower clock, it was then that I was shocked that somebody in St. Jude's would pay £56,000 to put in a new tower clock. And when that bell chimes, in fact, the day the installers came from England to come and start installing it, the people around bought them soft drinks, that you have done it for us, that it has added beauty and glory. So when you are coming in from Ondo Street and you look at the building with the clock, especially at night with the light, then it tells you that there is something in this place. So I think it's part of history. That's the clock chiming now. Confirming what I'm saying. So that's it.
My Lord, I also know, aside from music, that you love the youth, the young people.
Don't let them hear that. They believe that I don't love them. So,
you had set up a football club. There was this football arrangement with Stationery Stores of Lagos, which you initiated in 2019. We haven't heard so much about it, but we know that people are working behind the scene.
Yeah.
How far so far?
Yes, Mr. Adebajo, we were in the choir together when we were young. I think his own church was St. Peter's, but he used to come with some neighbors to Cathedral. So it was easy when I thought about having something for the youths, not only for the football club. The girls wanted their own football as well, and basketball. Barrister, what's his name? Imo, in your church, was supposed to be the captain of the basketball team. And I think they started actually. We had 1 or 2 Saturdays before the COVID-19 pandemic hit, and everybody went into a shutdown. So since then, we've tried to restart it again. And we thought we would have restarted it, but then this Delta variant came in again. So everybody is, but I've had several conversations. Stationery stores are still interested in assisting us. We've just had a change of pattern as far as the youth directorate is concerned. And as soon as the new director has settled down, I've passed over phone numbers of the coaches to him. So they will do something and restart. Having said that, one of our archdeaconries, Mushin Archdeaconry, actually a few weeks ago presented to me a cup that they won, I think Ikeja League, and they won that championship. So football is alive and well. From the inter-parish, diocesan, inter-parish matches that they also organized, a team came out of Mushin Archdeaconry, and they went, supported by members of the Holy Trinity Mission. They went into the league, in Ikeja, and they won it. And the cup was brought to the hall thanks to the dean. We had that opportunity to show me the cup, present the cup, and I congratulated them. And hopefully, when the season begins, then they go again. But that doesn't stop what we want to do. Because one or two of our youths apparently over the years has found opportunity to play football outside of the country. So I'm hoping that if we're able to do that, not only will our youths be engaged, then also that when they get to Europe, they remember that that's I will play agent for them.
Thank you very much, my Lord Bishop. It's the 15 years of the diocese. The next 5 years, what's your projection as we round up this discussion?
Well, the next 5 years, who knows? God knows. So we pray that God, first of all, will not leave us, neither will He forsake us.
Amen.
And I think I've had several discussions. And just on Thursday, I had a discussion with a committee planning something for the diocese, which we will hold in December. That is the stewardship committee. I believe, you mentioned the youths. I believe they are very important to the diocese or to the church. But I also believe that the Sunday school is more important. They spoil their faces. I have a passion for the churches to do more to support the Sunday school. See, because if we catch those children at that level, we won't be chasing after them when they are youth. By the time they are youth, we start chasing after them, it's a lost cause. They will go where they want to go. You won't be able to get them. So I want us to look at the model of perhaps the Roman Catholic Church and see the seriousness that they give to the training of the children in the Sunday school. And at Synod next year, by God's grace, it is something that I'm going to highlight. I go to churches, and when I visit churches Nicodemously, that is when they are not expecting me, I always go to the Sunday school. And I see Sunday schools where the children don't have enough manners. They are so bunched up together, they can't no learning. I'm happy with the numbers, but there can be no effective learning if you are bunching up children from maybe 3 up to this level. And what is being done for them is just not adequate enough. The youths are the midfield of the church, or the midfield. They are the ones who will take over immediately and all that kind of thing. And I think if the foundation bit is better, I think we won't have too much problem with it. So, for us, in the next few years at least, clergy will continue to make us effective communicators with members of our parish by education, by experience. 1 or 2 young ones I've tried for 2 years to try to get them to attend a course in the UK. It has not been possible. The visa issues and then the COVID-19. The clergy is very important. They are my constituency. If I have any vision, if the clergy cannot catch it, then the parishioners cannot catch it. So I have to spend time with the clergy to make sure that everything that can be done as far as development of the clergy to be effective administrators and priests. Because it's one thing I keep telling people, when you come to see me behind my desk in my office, you are not seeing a pastor, you are seeing an administrator. So there are things we are going to talk about, you might not like it, but as an administrator, administering a diocese, there are certain decisions that must be made. So clergymen are not only pastors, but are also administrators. So we have to do the two together, and we will do everything possible to make sure that we are both effective for the spiritual work and also for the physical or the administrative side of things. Not so much structures at the diocesan level, but at the parish level, those weaker churches, we have to do everything possible to develop them so that they can stand even at their own level. And then we'll go for there. As far as the Sunday school is concerned, the youth, please, the youth are important too. But the Sunday school is very, 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 even more important. So I hope that by God's grace, in the next 5 years, when we'll have the opportunity to celebrate anniversary, then perhaps we'll have a better report to give.
Thank you very much, the Assistant Bishop of Lagos Mainland, the Right Reverend B.C. Akinpelu Johnson, for this wonderful time with you, reviewing 15 years and then marching forward. I want to appreciate the Dean of the Cathedral, the Venerable Feyi Bajalabi, and then the Assistant Registrar, Lady Chibwe Ojera, for being with us on this panel. My name is George Abara. I'm the Administrative Assistant to the Bishop. It's been wonderful with you, viewers at home. Thank you very much, and God bless you. Even as we wish our Bishop monumental achievements in the future. Thank you. God bless you.